Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the bill.
Isabel.
Colleagues, I too would like to just say a few words about our actions today and its impact on public education. And I guess one of my great frustrations, and it just brings incredulousness to me to think that we have had no public hearings in this building that I'm aware of regarding what the impact to school districts and community college and institutions of higher ed budgets is going to be. We are the budget-making body for the state of Oregon. Remember how long we argued over the K-12 budget and we wrestled for dollars and so forth the last session? And has anybody heard any concern about what this is going to do for budgets across the state? But I want to talk about some practical issues that we're going to create. And I would label this as confusion. Because as we begin to draw arbitrary lines in the sand saying everybody inside of this line is going to have a $15.50 minimum wage or $15, whatever it is, and everybody outside of that is going to have a different wage, what about those districts that are caught in the middle? We have suburban districts that will be half in, half out. What are we going to do about that? Will they have two wage scales within that district? Do you think OSCA is going to be amenable to having two different wage scales for their classified personnel? I have a district like that that'll have, part of that will be in Portland Public, Portland Central, at the higher wage. Half of the buildings are outside of that. Are the employees going to have, are we going to have two separate contracts? What are we going to do? But we haven't even talked about that. We haven't considered that. And what about Portland? The metro districts. They will have a $2 per hour higher wage cost for their classified employees than all the other districts outside of there. Is Portland Public going to be content to just absorb that and say, okay, we'll take one for the team. We want to be good Oregonians? I kind of think not. I can already see the signs and people parading around here saying, give us back the money you're taking out of our budget. Will we address this via the funding formula? Haven't heard that conversation. Will we say if you're a metro area school district, you're going to get X percentage more per child than those that are outside? Don't know, but we're going to have to address it. The issue's going to be in front of us. But again, I've heard nothing. I haven't seen the Ed Subcommittee have any discussions about the budget impact for our K-12 school districts, and I think that shows how ill-prepared we are to deal with the consequences of what we're about to do here today. Let's talk about preschool. Obviously, we are concerned about that. We know we've got to do a better job across the state of getting our students, our kids, ready for kindergarten, and we're investing a ton of time and money in trying to improve our outcomes. I've got a report here that came to me yesterday from the YMCA of Columbia Willamette. It's a youth development program downtown, and it says this: who offer preschool programs for students in downtown Portland. It will substantially increase the cost of services, which must or will be passed on to consumers who use these services. This might especially be hard on those who can least afford a cost of increase in services. If the cost can't be passed on, then services are going to be reduced or eliminated. Right? We estimate that the cost in our child care programs alone will exceed $2 million annually at the proposed rate increase for Metro Portland. This is one program, $2 million more. So the point is, who's going to miss out? Are we shooting ourselves in the foot again at the point in time we're trying to invest in creating a smoother pathway into K-12 education, preschool programs? It's unconscionable to me that we haven't had a conversation about this at all. We've heard earlier today that 1 in 5 children live in poverty, okay? But we haven't talked about the 30% of children who are entering kindergarten not ready. And we haven't talked about the 30% of third graders who can't read when they leave third grade. But I find it a little more than ironic that this body, and also I'll add Governor Brown into this conversation, who says that early childhood education and improving kindergarten readiness is of the utmost importance and is a key component in improving our public education outcomes in Oregon, which I agree with, by the way. But we're being asked to pass a bill that will absolutely blow holes in the budgets of nonprofits that provide the bulk of this needed early education benefits to our kids. And yet no hearings, no conversations, no planning for what we're going to do. These nonprofits don't have a way to absorb this cost. Their hourly rate for their employees goes up. They'll offer fewer services, or the cost of their services will go up. We know about that. Let's talk about higher ed. Let's move on up the scale if we deal with public education.
Representative Huffman yields his time. Please
Thank
continue.
you, Representative. Let's talk about the cost or the impact on work-study programs. Work-study is funded by federal dollars. I've got some information that I got from the university system yesterday that says there will be 39% reductions in work-study programs offered through our universities in the state of Oregon if we pass this bill and it's fully implemented. So think about that. We all are concerned about the cost of higher education. We all claim to want to remove the debt burden from the backs of our university and college students. But passing this bill today is going to remove an opportunity for them to work their way, pay their way through school, so that when they graduate, they aren't going to have this ball and chain called debt around their neck. Yet, no conversations, no hearings, no thought provided on this topic. And I'll point to our colleagues up here from OSA, who I think are still sitting in the front row up here, and say, this is not a good development. If you're a student, I don't know why you're not down here banging the drum along with everybody else, because we're taking literally food out of the mouths of college students that are trying to work their way through school. Unintended consequence, I know, but a consequence real, and it's not hypothetical. And let me just summarize by this, Madam Speaker. We hear from those parties today the quote about the folks that were in the room and put this package together. We hear about labor interests, business interests, and so forth. But I can tell you that public education wasn't in the room, because they would have had some comments to make. They would have had some changes to make. They would have had their issues in front of those who were putting this package together. But I would say that passage of this bill is undoubtedly going to make it more difficult to get a quality education in Oregon and to graduate from college without a mountain of debt. Thank you, Madam Speaker.